Hey, Carl.
Hey, Jenn.
What are you listening to this week? Welcome to season 5 of What Are You Listening To? The weekly podcast created to foster community through music by sharing the stories behind the songs that soundtrack our lives. Some of the songs are old, some new, all good. I'm Jenn Tully, and this week I'm joined by Carl Manners. Carl is the founder of MBODI Candles. MBODI is a candle company that was created so you can embody how you feel in any given moment and then blow out the candle when you're ready to move on with your day. That way, emotions don't boil over and explode. Through the power of research backed fragrance and a personal playlist attached to each candle, created by Carl and his customers, you can experience both scent and sound to emotionally accept how you feel. This week, Carl is going to tell us more about why he started this company. And as always, he and I are going to get to know each other through 4 songs. 2 are his picks and 2 are mine. Which songs do you think we're going to discuss? Tune into our conversation to find out. And in case our song picks are new to you, we'll publish a playlist with the episode so you don't miss a beat. Carl, I'm so excited to have you on the show, and I can't wait to learn more about Embody. So let's get started. Carl, what are you listening to this week?
I am listening to On the Way by Earl Sweatshirt, featuring Standing on the Corner.
I love this. So I've got to tell listeners, I had the opportunity to meet Carl and experience Embody, and I have been loving not only burning the candles, but digging into every single playlist that you've posted on Spotify. There's truly something for everyone in your playlist. So I don't want anyone to think that based on our picks today, that's the only kind of music that they'll find. It's so diverse. It's so crazy. There is literally something for everyone. So I will be calling out a few of my favorites as we go through the show. But let's talk about this first song. Now, I always say that whenever somebody brings an artist to the show that I'm not familiar with, I love to call that out. And Earl Sweatshirt was one of those artists. How did you
Same.
find that? How did you get into Earl Sweatshirt? Tell me about this song. I think that you mentioned that this is kind of one of your all-time favorites. How did this
Yeah,
song
this
find
is
you?
this is a classic. This song was brought on by, or this artist was brought on by Odd Future, kind of how you
Yeah.
mentioned earlier. But he had, to me at least, more, I guess, deeper lyrics,
Hmm.
where the group kind of was more fun, bubbly. Even Tyler, the Creator, a name you might have heard of,
Yes.
uh, as of late has made more serious stuff, but early on was making stuff you could kind of crank in the car and jam with your friends. But this artist specifically came out with an earlier album that me and my friend Jalen would listen to all the time, riding on our way
Okay.
to school. So this song is attached to old memories that are good, and yeah, it's. I think a lot of music, at least we take artists from maybe high school or maybe college, and we stamp them in that time frame. Then when we go back and listen to it, sometimes it's like a good memory and something you can listen to at the end of the day. When you're kind of winded down. I'm driving home from one of my markets or something like that, and that's kind of what this song does for me. At least it's almost like a sunset song. It's like a bittersweet because you get some of the serious lyrics with this one here,
Yeah.
and but the beat is more kind of fresh and calming almost.
Yeah. And, people often ask me, why don't you just do a traditional interview show? Why music? And it's that very reason that you just mentioned, right? I feel like a song can drop you back into a time and place like nothing else, right?
It's crazy. Yeah, and the best feeling too is learning new artists. So I mean,
Yeah.
even when we dive into your stuff later, there's always a chance to make new memories, and that's even the other song that I sent as well. There's you can attach them to good days, good weeks, good months, and you go back, and you're listening, you're like, oh, this is when I got my first car, or this is when I moved into the apartment, or when. So it's not all the times are they connected. Sometimes, of course, the lyrics are there, or sometimes it's like a nice jazz track, and it's something
Yeah.
you can chill out to. But for the most part, for me, I I pick and choose certain lines. Like if we go through, there's certain lines that I can pick and be like, oh, that pertains to me and my candles. Like when I'm making them, back over here. So.
Yes, I love that. And I love too that, like, I'd heard of Odd Future. We chatted about this a little bit. Certainly knew that, Tyler the Creator was affiliated, an artist that I think you and I both love based on your playlist, Frank Ocean, also affiliated.
Frank
Um,
Ocean.
Love Frank Ocean, and, like, I
So,
was I almost brought Lost to the show today, but I'm like, "You know
nice.
what? That's well-covered territory," but it's just one of my favorites, and I think Godspeed is on one of your playlists,
Oh,
another Frank
amazing.
Ocean favorite. His version of Moon River is one of my
Yes.
favorites
Yep.
versions of that song. So yeah, I was so happy to see, like, oh, how did I miss Earl Sweatshirt when I'm, like, so familiar with the rest of Odd Future? So again,
He's
I was
a little different vibe, a little different.
yeah.
He's not for everyone, but for the thing that I love about this company is that there's hidden gems in certain songs, and I think he's one of those that flew under the radar. And I remember I noticed him. Me and my friend Jalen noticed him when Kendrick Lamar said he was his favorite rapper, and I was a big fan of
Oh,
Kendrick at the time. And I was like, well, how does he know who Earl Sweatshirt is? Like at the time back then, he's nowhere near what he's now. I think he has like 2 million followers or something like that on Spotify, but back then was not pulling those kind of numbers. But it's crazy. You never know who's listening. That's another
for
thing too.
sure.
You never know, like as an artist for sake, or even I mean me making candles too. I never know, like never knew you had a podcast, whatever the case is. But it's
Yeah,
crazy.
isn't it great? I love though, that's again another like a magical thing about music. Like I love that a genius like Kendrick Lamar can call
Yeah.
somebody out and like blow them up. And I love that, you and I can meet and not know that one another exists and have like such a common thread between what we both do and love, Like it's again, it's just music, like I said, has always been like this magical connector for me. And it's why I've always loved it. And it's why I will love it until I cannot anymore. Um, but I think this song is like particularly special too because it's short. It's not even 2 minutes long, which is rare to get like something that's a snippet. And then when you were talking about like lyrics resonating, like he repeats it several times, but I love the line where he says, clouds gray on the move, on the way, like the truth. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, that hits so hard, Like I just, whenever you hear something, I always say it like it rings different in your ears, when you
Yes.
hear a lyric like that just like touches you like a place or it's words you didn't know you needed to hear.
Yes.
And that's what that line was for me.
Yes, yes, yes. That is and then the outro too is really nice as far
Ah,
as like the strings and stuff like that. That one is and that's the thing too. I like short and sweet songs. If they're more instrumental based, I can go for 6, 7, 8 minutes. I can go the long distance, but I'm a big fan of around like the 2 minute mark. Those are usually that feels like the most time and effort is put in, and it's just enough. It's just enough to where you want to replay it, and you're like, "This is phenomenal."
yeah. Well, and this song I feel like has so many hidden gems in it too, Like you can listen. I listened over and over and every time heard something new. And I made a note too that I love the ending of this song. I just think it's like a perfect bow on this really unique lyrical style, the way it's arranged. Like it's such a good song. But
It's hard to it's hard to describe, bro. It's something you have to listen a little bit of his like back catalog because
mhm.
surface level, it seems kind of sad. And I remember even when I put it on with my girlfriend, she'd be like, "Are you okay? Like, is everything good?" And it's like, no, 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 this is my melancholy is more so peaceful, I guess you can say. And so
Yeah.
the stuff he talks about is to some it can be a little more on the sad side, but when you put the instrumental on top of it, that's as beautiful as it is sometimes like this. It's really nice.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. This was definitely like a hidden gem, as you mentioned earlier, in this season of the show for me. So I'm really excited to just like continue on my journey with Earl Sweatshirt now. Well, before we move on to your second pick, let's talk about MBODI for a sec. Like, I have to
Yeah.
know this, like, kept coming up a billion times. And I'm like, I've got to ask him my burning question. What comes first for you, the playlist or the scent? Does it
That's
vary?
that's a good question. So it depends. It depends.
Okay.
I think sometimes I'll hear a song and it will inspire me to create a new line. A lot of the times I base a line off kind of relevant events that's kind of going on in my life. But for the most part, I scroll fragrances.
Mhm.
Uh, and then if I find one I like, I try and tie it to some sort of research or some sort of emotion back state. So I have that kind of foundation of what I'm
Mhm.
moving forward with. And there's only so far I can take it, right? Like my angry candle, there's not really scents that can kind of make you angry, but there's scents that can irritate you a little. And so I did like sriracha with that one. I
Yeah.
did wood smoke, and it's kind of more of a spicy, fiery scent. And so I like to find the scents, and then I attach some of my favorites, like the first three songs, to give kind of like people an idea what to post. But I would say it's about 50-50 because sometimes I'll hear a song that's on my playlist. And I'm like, dude, I gotta create a line that encapsulates how I feel about this, this specific
Yeah.
thing.
So it's a little
um,
bit of both, it sounds
yeah, it's
like.
a little of both.
Yeah.
I jump back and forth, depending on, I guess, how good the song is, and how
Right.
inspired I get off of it.
Well, the candles smell amazing too. I mean, that's a big thing for me is like I need something that's got like I once, so I'm a definite expert here. I once took a candle making class and learned about throw, which is like
Yes.
the ability for a candle scent to like fill a room, if you will. And I just think your candles are the perfect balance of that. And then having that playlist with it really has like it's just for me, it's been a perfect combination. So
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that you're doing what you're doing. And then having the crowdsourced element makes it feel even more communal to me, right? It's not just an experience that I'm getting from you. I feel like it's something
Yes.
that a lot of us are sharing. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I try to get y'all involved because one, I think I have the greatest playlist in the world, but I'm not that naive. I know there's other music tastes out there that are probably far better than mine, and so I like to tap in. And then also on top of tapping into other people's like playlists and listening and hearing what they're jamming, I like supporting local too. So I was telling
Yeah.
you, there's a few people who came up who were like, "Hey man, can you put my stuff on?" Or people who are playing for the day. I'll go up to them after and ask, "Hey, you mind if I throw you on the YouTube channel, or if I throw you on Spotify playlist?" And more times than not, they're okay with it, and that's always fun. There's always like a little tip of the hat, like "thank you," I appreciate you. I'm like, it's not going to get you crazy amount of plays, but for the people that do listen, they'll be local, and it's another way to connect.
Well, yeah, and you don't know honestly when you're going to be downloading the next like Being Dead or
Yeah,
Gary
that's
Clark
the thing.
Jr.
That's the
or you
thing.
know Krungbin or like whoever. Like there's where as I've mentioned, a lot of times on the show, we're based here in Austin, Texas, so you never know shiny ribs. Like you never know who you're going to run into. That's like the next big thing. So
Yeah, for
I
sure.
love that too. Like surfacing local artists is fantastic, and we have no shortage of amazing talent in this city. So again, you never know who's going to hit next. So, with that, let's move on to your second pick. Tell me what your second song was.
And so my second song here is Cooties by Schoolboy Q. Schoolboy Q falls into kind of the same era of all these guys that I was listening to, kind of back in high school and middle school and uh, in college as well. And I'm lucky enough that they're still coming out with projects and stuff like that. I get to experience that, thankfully, for hopefully another like 10 years. But this song again, this could have differed. I could have given you something a little more aggressive as my second song, but I'm in the latter phase of the year. This is like my joyous part of the year. Summer's real hard for me and stuff, selling candles, and I'm not a summer person. So I'm sure you would have gotten a whole different song if we had this interview slash podcast. If we had it in the summer, but this is more so a feel good song for me. It's kind of like, okay, I put my bootstraps on, I laced them up, and I got to work this day, and I'm driving home. Again, it's the sunset. I'm driving home, and I can feel good about how the day went. Whether I go to a market, whether I'm dropping off candles, I'm meeting with amazing people like you. It's like an end cap to the day. like the end credit scenes that are rolling. It's like
Yes.
that.
That's a great way to phrase it though. And I got that too whenever I was listening to this song. Like again, I feel like lyrically this is another song that is so strong. Um they put the blinds down, I opened the curtains. I mean, how great is that? Like
Yeah.
another one where it's just like I don't know why, but that line kept standing out to me every time I listened, every single time. And so
Mhm.
it just I love it when that happens. It feels like somebody's like whispering something in your ear that you needed to hear, you know?
Yes. Yes, 100%. There's also a line in here talking about, I think it was a some sort of countertop or something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
there is. I know what you're talking
yeah,
about.
like I can't believe my house on the hill like is real.
Yeah.
Um, it says like I can't believe my house on the hill. Like I can't believe that mountain is real. Accountant is thrilled, and as of late, the company for me has been doing great. And I went from a 1 bedroom uh, moving into a house now, and like that's for me. It's like
Nice.
I can't believe this house is real. I got a fireplace, I got a big kitchen. Like it's like a humble brag, but at the same time, it's just being grateful. And that's this whole thing is him kind of just reflecting on the past like 10, 15 years and kind of where he's been.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I feel like I got that from the song too, and I loved it. It resonated with me so much on that level of just like and I think we don't brag enough, we don't share that gratitude publicly enough. Like I wish we could like just be really stoked for each other instead of thinking like, oh, that person's bragging. And of course there's like a right way and a wrong way to do it perhaps, but I loved that this song embodied that. I think it embodied that. See what I did there?
Tag
Um
it.
but I think you're right. Like, I think that that's like, yes, this song makes me feel that way too. It makes me feel grateful. It does make me think, though, this was another question that I had for you back to the company is that it seems like, clearly you're a guy that likes to make playlists. And so as you're opening it up to folks and sort of like crowdsourcing some of these, was it hard to let go of total control
It
of the
was.
playlist?
It was. It was, but then you realize people have good music taste.
Okay.
You're very closed off for the most part. But if you just open, one of your ears, you don't got to open both. You can still listen to what you want to listen to. But if you open just one of your ears, you notice that other people have pretty solid music taste. And rarely did the songs not fit uh, the playlist that I had. There was only one time. I still don't have, and I think I might have told you this. I still don't have any playlists for the Joker soundtrack. The first one that came out with the violins, the real
Yeah.
ominous one. I don't have anything to fit that yet. So whoever submitted that, I am sorry. I will find one eventually, or I'll make a special collection. Maybe like an October one that's a little more on the spooky side or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, people have good music taste. They do. They do. You just got to open your ears. That's all.
You do, and even if it's not a song that, like, maybe resonates with you or that you constantly have on a playlist, I feel like you can find the good in any song. That's something I've learned, from this show, and it was something that I've said from the beginning, like, I'm not looking to be, pitchfork here or consequence of sound. Like, I am not trying to be, like, the coolest cutting edge. I'm only dropping, like, the hottest, hippest new music. I'm really interested in, like, the stories and what music resonates with people, and having thought about it that way rather than just like, oh, that song's not my personal taste or I don't dig that artist, it's really opened me up to be able to find the good in any song. Like if somebody likes it, then it's valid, right? There's something
Yes.
there. And so I feel like that's been a real unexpected gift of this show is just what you're saying, like forcing me to open up at least one ear, and understand something and make room for something that maybe I wouldn't have found on my own or I wouldn't have naturally gravitated to.
And I hope I can do that for as long as I can too, because I know the older you get too, people tend to hang out in their generations. I mean, if I ask, my mom who her favorite artists are, she might not say, the people that I'm listening to. Uh,
Right.
I'm lucky enough to have my mom listen to some of my stuff, so I will do that whenever I have kids, whatever the case is. It'll be Lil whoever that's out and hot and that everybody loves, and I'll 100% listen. But that's a part of connecting. I think I mean, it meant a lot to me when I would show my mom, like a new Travis Scott album or like a new Kendrick. I just told her about the Kendrick album that dropped, and she instantly
Yes.
got on it and listened to it and was like, "Oh my god, this reminds me of like '80s, '90s, like back in the
Yes.
day." And I think I think that's important for that further connection, especially regardless if it's a kid or not. Like you to me, older generation to younger
Yep.
generation. Um, it takes a lot, I know, as far as your generation to stop and listen to what we are listening to. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you. I will never stop. Like it's for me, it's critical. Like I'm not one of those like, oh, music today is crap. Like I think there's so much amazing stuff coming out now and I think there was so much amazing stuff that preceded it. Like that's again part of the magic of music for me and why I like all genres. Like it's why I can listen to classical in the same day that I can listen to the new Kendrick Lamar album. Like it all lives in like just a place of love for me. And so I don't mind. I actually welcome multi-generational suggestions and I love the conversations again that brings having people of different generations share the music that resonates with them and always finding new artists. It was a special connection point, for my dad and I when I was a kid. It's a special connection point for my daughter and I now as she's bringing me music and I'm sharing my music with her. Like it really is. I just think it's so cool and I always hope I'm learning about new artists. And I'm a big believer, I talk about this on the show a lot as well, in the value of multi-generational friendships. And I try and maintain and foster that everywhere I go because I think it's helpful for everyone, right? And so again, just back to that music being a community builder, it's all linked. It all means the same thing to me. And so I'm always so grateful for that. So with that, we're going to kind of bridge two worlds here a little bit with my first pick. So, my first pick this week is a song called 3 a.m. And this version is the Haim version featuring Thundercat. So, um, this is off of Haim's Women in Music Part 3 album that they released in 2021. I'm a huge Haim fan. I love those sisters to death. I think that they are fantastic. Can't get enough. I'm so anxious for them to drop some new music. It's been a minute. And I actually discovered Thundercat through them when I went to see their show for the tour they went on for this album. He was actually there. I saw them at the Santa Barbara Bowl in California. And he was there and they did this song live. And I was like, wait a minute, I'd heard Thundercat like background, I think like random Austin story, but like one of the pre-roll reels that runs like at Alamo Draft House, before the show, I think featured a Thundercat song. And I was like, oh, this is groovy. What's this? And then
Yeah,
seeing them live, I was like, oh my gosh, this is
I love
amazing.
Thundercat. Love
Yeah.
Thundercat. I love the lyrics. I'm floating away, keep floating away, and that
Yes.
is it comes in and out throughout the song as a chorus, and it's very easy on the ears. I listened to it this morning in the car, and I was like, "This is the perfect." I was going to get coffee. Is the perfect little song to throw on, and Thundercat usually is like that on features. I picked same thing. I picked him up through a feature, and yeah, he's phenomenal. He's
Yeah.
phenomenal. And
So
then now, and
good.
you gave me Haim. Sorry to cut you off. You gave me Haim. I'm definitely diving into them the same way you're diving into Earl. This group sounds beautiful.
They are so good all the way back to that very first album. Like start at the beginning and work your way through. It's a fast listen. They don't have they have a lot of collabs that sort of builds their catalog out a little bit more, but so well worth the deep dive. I love those three sisters. And yeah, I know that Them Changes features on your Melancholy Monday playlist, which I love. And so I felt like this would be a nice bridge that we could talk Thundercat and Haim while we were all here. And then speaking of your playlist, I did tease this earlier, but I do have to call out a few that I really love. Like I said, I've been sort of spending the week with your playlist for MBODI, and I love Take Five. I love Sweet Memories. I love, love, love the old Texas gal in me loves Fully Grounded. I love Popsicle Paradise. Um, And I also love Evergreen Frost, your Christmas playlist, which is very
Yeah.
timely. So I call
Yes.
those out. Like listeners, if you're like looking for MBODI on Spotify and you want to check out the playlist before you purchase the candles, like those are a few that I found that really resonated with me. Like I said, there's something for everybody in all of the playlists. But if you're looking for a place to start, those are some of the ones that I really found just fantastic in terms of like really like suiting the mood and delivering what I wanted in a given moment.
Yeah, the Take Five I always recommend just because it's got the classics on there.
Yeah.
You got kind of Al Green kind of vibes on that one. So as far as gifts or anything like that, I always throw that one out there. It's the easiest on the ears because I know some playlists can be niche and some can't be, but that one is all around really
Yeah,
good.
so good. And again, too, that just given the time of year that it is, Evergreen Frost, I loved. I'm always looking for a good holiday playlist. And that one, again, checks a lot of boxes. But while we're talking about the playlist and while we're talking about Embody, can you help me understand, too, a little bit about what you mean when you talk about music helping you with emotional acceptance? What does that mean for you?
Yeah.
And sort of why is that kind of a founding principle of Embody?
I think a lot of the times we can get stuck in specific moods, and you can easily bring yourself out of one, or you can dive kind of further in and kind of feel how you need to feel. And what I like to do is feel the way I need to feel, and so I'll throw on whatever jam, whatever song, whatever mood I'm in, and I'll kind of sit in it. And so, as you mentioned, the Melancholy Monday is a great playlist. I just played it the other day because it's been raining a lot in Austin,
Yeah.
and I played the Melancholy Monday and kind of went off on a Frank Ocean kind of tangent. I had listened to Blonde again for the first time in a really long time,
So good.
and after I felt great. Something about the a couple days. It was like 2-3 days ago. I was just feeling a little down. I don't know what it was. Maybe sales weren't going well. Maybe I'm not. There's always some underlying thing
Yeah.
that's causing whatever emotion is that you're feeling. But I felt amazing after giving myself. I think it was like a 30-minute drive. I had gone and grabbed some food or something like that, and I just threw on some sad songs and I sat and I needed to feel, and then the rest of the day felt amazing. And it wasn't because I got canes down the street and I was happy that I got food. It was because I truly believe it's because I just gave my time, whatever time was needed. I just gave the time needed for how I'm feeling.
I love that, and I love this concept of emotional acceptance, and I especially love I think it's on your website, which we'll call out at the end of the show, listeners, so you know where to find all things Embody, but, I love that this idea too of, like, putting on the music, lighting the candle, and then when you're done, you blow out the candle, you move on, right? Like, that for me, that process, and even just visualizing it, even like you said, if I'm in the car and listening and I don't have the candle there with me, in my mind, I found myself this week, like, blowing out the candle when I was done and just like sitting in this place of acceptance. So I really like that. That so speaks to me. And I love that that's kind of not even kind of, that's a big part of what you're achieving here with Embody as a whole. So I appreciate you for that. And I thank you for that because it did give me a tool that I needed this week to just kind of like sit in
Yeah.
it and take a deep breath. And it's the end of the year and it can feel really overwhelming. You're trying to make Christmas happen. My daughter's birthday is this month. Like a lot of things are going on. Work is crazy, like all of it. So it's nice to just like, whoo, have a moment to
Mhm.
sit in that, feel kind of kooky, then blow out the candle, either literally or figuratively in my
Yes.
mind. I like that process. Well, we're going to round out the playlist today with my second pick. And this is a song I've been wanting to bring to the show forever. And it just never fit. Like sometimes it's like you said on a playlist, like you just can't find a way to fit it in. But I'm like, you know what? I think this week it fits. So the
Mhm.
last song, our fourth song on this week's playlist, is a song called Simple Things by Miguel. So I just think that this song is fantastic. It is the first song that I heard by Miguel and I was hooked. It was one of those where like it catches you and I'm like I have to listen to every single thing this artist has ever put out because It is so amazing. And I know that you and I chatted that we both love his 2017 album, War and Leisure, which is so, there's this like Criminal, a song called Banana Clip, Told You
Banana Clip.
So, like
Yeah,
all
yeah.
of these. I love all of them. And I think like back to kind of what your mom was saying about Kendrick Lamar, this artist, Miguel, kind of reminds me of Prince a little bit. Like not
Yeah,
always, but I get the same like vibes as I
yeah.
did when I listened to Prince.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's some subtle. It's crazy too how that happens. Where maybe he got inspired by him. You never know. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of artists that take bits and pieces. They'll take a chord from here. They'll take a certain like beat pattern here. But yeah, I get that. I can see that for sure.
Yeah. Was this an artist you were familiar with? Are you like
Yeah,
outside of War and Leisure, or did you know this song? Like, where did this kind of land on
I
your
picked up
radar?
I picked up Miguel from he had Sure Thing, which was a huge song back when I
Hmm.
was a little bit younger, maybe like eighth, ninth grade. But my older brother listened to him, and so I immediately hopped on board. Anything he listens to, I'm like, all right, I'm giving it a listen. Um, and then on top of that, what cemented it, I'm a big fan of Travis Scott. He's like our
Yeah.
generation's like Prince or whatever.
Yeah.
And the song Skywalker uh, was a song back in 2017 off that album.
Yeah.
And then that extra hooked me. And I was like, okay, I'll give this whole thing a listen and we'll go through it. And yeah, ever since Miguel has been, I usually catch him, I can catch him on features a lot of the times because he's so good at singing. And when you have an artist that's diverse like that, they'll be in the background singing on a lot of the songs that
Yeah.
you listen to.
Yeah, I love him. He's one that too, like listeners, if you're not familiar, like definitely go there, go down that rabbit hole. And starting with War and Leisure, I think is a good place. Like I think that's a good album to start with. And if you like that one, like you can go deep all day long. Um, and then I also too like this is a fun question for like a music lover that I love to ask. So we'll round out the show today with this one. But I always hear from guests that one of the hardest parts about doing the show is picking just two songs. And so since you are in the playlist business, I imagine it was especially hard for you. How did you decide?
It was pretty tough. I think overarching, there'll always be a love for Earl Sweatshirt in my heart, just because it was kind of the start of I don't know, like my music journey, I guess you can say. Everybody has that one artist, that they hold dearly. But the second one was tough. I could have gone. I'm telling you, if it was in the summer, I would have picked a real aggressive song.
Yeah.
If it's in the fall or in winter, it's going to be something totally different. So uh, playlists change. My playlist definitely changed throughout the year, and again, I guess it just depends on what I'm feeling. I was
On the
feeling
mood.
good yesterday. I've been feeling good this month, so it was a song that was like a go get 'em vibe. But yeah, if it was summer, I would have been scrolling for a while on my personal
Yeah.
playlist.
I'm the same way though. I always say when people are like your desert island playlist or whatever, I'm like, it depends on the day. And mine literally could change from day to day. I mean, there are some staples that I'll never deviate from, but if you ask me for 10 songs, you're not ever going to get the same 10
Same, yeah,
songs from day
never,
to
never.
day.
That's good though, because that means we're listening to new stuff and we're
Yeah.
switching it up. So many people hang out on the same. I've been telling one of my friends, or it's my brother's friend Tyrell, but we play video games all the time and stuff. I've been telling him you need to get off Lil Wayne. You've been listening to Lil Wayne for how long now? He's great. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Switch it up, man. And we recently got him to start listening to albums through and through and like really give it the time of day and then make it it's like a movie at that point. You're not
Yeah.
just hitting shuffle. And safe to say, I think we broke through to him, and he's not learning about new music, but like I feel like he's appreciating it more now that we're having like open combos, kind of how we are right now.
See, look at you out there doing the Lord's work.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
Oh, well, Carl, thank you so much for sharing what you're listening to this week. I love what you're doing with MBODI candles. And I can also say, I mentioned it earlier, but the candles smell amazing. And like the combination of the candles in the playlist were truly magic for me. So I am so grateful to have met you and know that you're out there and doing what you do. It was a pleasure to have you on
Thank
the
you.
show. So
I'm
thank
humbled.
you.
And it warms my heart. Thank you. You've been amazing. This podcast is awesome. You were an
Thank
amazing
you.
customer. You made my day when you came out. You're like the
Yay.
coolest customer I had that day. And I appreciate it too. Thank you so much for having me on. This is
Of
awesome. Keep
course.
doing what you're doing because this is you diving into the younger generation's music. It means a lot. It really does to know, like, I don't know, that future generations are looking down, and then that I could also look down and accept the people who, whether it's friends, family that I make that are young, I can accept their music. You know, it's awesome what you do. It's hard to do too. It's hard to get that one ear open and be like, oh, okay, I can kind of see what he's listening to.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's been a gift to me. So I'm so grateful that people are so open and willing to share and don't just write me off as like, oh, she'd never like this because, she likes Fleetwood Mac. She's never going to like Earl Sweatshirt. Not true. Not true. So let's just all agree to not sell one another short. Like we all have the ability to open up to one another. So let's keep doing that, especially in this holiday season. And listeners, to learn more about MBODI candles and to purchase some for your favorite people this holiday season, you can visit the website at www.embodicandles.com. That's the letter M, BODICANDLES.com. And you can also follow Carl and MBODI Candles on Instagram at MBODI Candles. I'm going to spell it one more time because it's a little tricky. It's the letter M, BODICANDLES, plural. And as always, please be sure to follow, download, and share the show. And if you love listening, drop us a review on Apple or Spotify. It's super helpful. And last but not least, to stay informed on all things Super Awesome Mix and what are you listening to, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Super Awesome Mix. Thanks for listening, and please join me again next week to find your new favorite song.